At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving. So when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.
All things Hawkeyes, your all-access pass from the sidelines to the postgame. Iowa's News Now Sports presents Eye on the Hawks, sponsored by DePaco Community Credit Union and Pin Seekers.
Biggest thing right now, we're sitting here with a 3-2 record. We got 2 one-score losses, and got 7 games to go. So the thing I shared with the players in the locker room was that there's a lot of football ahead. Not as much as we had a couple of weeks ago, obviously, but there's a lot of football left.
And that's got to be the mentality for Iowa after a tough loss on homecoming at Kinnick Stadium. 20-15 your final, Iowa falling to the number 11 team in the country and losing a quarterback in the process, perhaps, as Mark Gronowski goes out with an injury. Hank Brown comes in. So Iowa heads in the bye with a lot of questions to figure out. Welcome to this Sunday edition of Eye on the Hawks, recapping that loss to Indiana. Mitch Fick, Owen Sebring, Mike Howell here. Ren's directing everything, running the ship on this Sunday. Thank you for watching on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel. If you're doing that, Owen's got a recap package from last night you can enjoy there as well, on top of about 18 minutes worth of post-game interviews from all the players you're about to hear from in shorter bites. If you want to hear everything they said in the post-game, we've got that up there on the YouTube channel. Of course, if you're listening on the audio side, we're happy you're listening wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll jump right in and tee it up courtesy of Pin Seekers here from the DePaco Community Credit Union studio here at Broadcast Park. A tough sequence to end everything on Sunday. A Zach Lutmer interception, a fantastic play by him. The kid out of Western Iowa, a missed opportunity on a 3rd and 5, a missed field goal, and then a big play for Indiana. Let's hear from the guys and Coach Ferentz after a wild sequence of events to end this one.
Tell me about that screen call that went awry there at the end. Is that a play you guys run a ton in practice? Is that a good play for you guys typically?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I feel like if it had been completed, it definitely could have changed the difference in the game. But, you can't sit and pawn on that. You just got to look forward and be prepared next time.
Tim called a really good game. No fault with our strategy, and just execution's got to be a little bit better. And, yeah, sure, you'd like to get the first down. If you do, hopefully the game's over. But you still got to convert the rest of the play, either score a touchdown or get a field goal. Obviously, in that situation, if we can get a touchdown and burn the clock, that would have been perfect. Didn't work out.
Did you see maybe what went awry on that last field goal attempt? Why Drew wasn't able to make it?
I don't know. I mean, it's a play hopefully we can make. I don't want to say routinely. I hate that word in football. But, yeah, you hope it's a play we can make. And, he made some great field goals also. So, yeah, it's just one of those things we'll just have to work through it. I'm sure he will.
What did you see on the last touchdown they had? Did you get a good view of kind of what happened?
I know we were in some man, and I had my eyes on my man, and then I looked back and I just seen 13 running. So I haven't looked at the play, so I'll go back and check it out and see what he ran. But yeah, I just turned back and see he was running.
The zero pressure at the end of the game. I maybe even could have popped out on the full slide and maybe got my hand out. And maybe batted that ball down.
Momentum's kind of a weird thing in college football. You think you have the momentum, and the next play they come right at you. We all got to be better as a whole team. We just weren't good enough.
To be honest, I think we can hang with anybody in the country, and I thought we showed that today. We didn't finish the game like we wanted to, but we left a few things out there, but we can play with anybody. I truly believe that, and when we're on our stuff, I think we're a really good team. It just comes down to finishing, man, and that's the name of the game. You get in tight games in the fourth quarter. Who's going to be the best team in the fourth quarter? And they were the best team in the fourth quarter today.
We'll talk a little more about the 3rd and 5 in a bit, but we'll start with the missed field goal from Drew Stevens, wide left. Some talk online about where the snap might have been, or the rotation of the ball on the hold, but give you a look at the couple angles Owen and I got there. With 2:01 to play in the fourth quarter, Indiana, of course, took over, and on a 3rd down, an all-out blitz, one-on-one, and Surratt what a game for him and the Hoosiers. And Fernando Mendoza, we talked about how accurate he'd been, just 3 incompletions in the last 2 games. Had 10 against Iowa, including his first pick of the year. But boy, those 13 completions out of the 23 attempts, each one felt like it was a big one. And Iowa falls by 5 points after a weird little 40-some-yard loss on the final play of the game to give up the safety. But Mike and Owen, just initial thoughts about the way the game ends and just overall a tough one that, boy, it felt like everything set up for Iowa. And we'll get to the injury to Mark Gronowski and everything else. But, boy, one that hurts a little more, it feels like, than maybe your typical loss.
Yeah, Mike, I think you were in the stands yesterday watching that one. Did you end up coming to the game?
I did. I got some pretty good seats, too. I'll have to show you the photo. Maybe I'll throw it in and edit it in. But it was like 45-yard line and 50 rows up, which is what I like because you could just, it's like you're watching from home. I mean, you know, you had this game won, in my opinion. You get 1 first down in that scenario.
Yeah.
And I do think, you know, a 30-yarder Drew makes. Unfortunate, you know, not on target. Hank was, you know. But then again, you have a backup quarterback in. You know, I think if Mark stays in the game, it's my opinion that I think Iowa wins. You know, maybe Indiana comes down and makes other plays. That play was huge. The touchdown. I'm not going to fault the play calling though. Iowa blitzed like something like 26 times.
Wow.
Or 21 times, most all year. And when you blitz like that, I mean, it worked most of the game, but you are susceptible to those big plays. And, you know, the last thing was just Deshaun could have tackled him, you know, missed tackles. There were like 14 yesterday. BFF counted 14, which isn't Iowa-like. So that's just the other disappointing part.
Yeah, I know that seemed to be a discussion and across almost the entire game was the missed tackles that were going on yesterday. That was, and Kirk was asked about it too. That's what needed to get cleaned up. Yeah, disappointing to see Drew take a miss in that scenario. Obviously, yeah, there's been some images of like, you know, maybe other things that were wrong outside of just the actual kick execution. But also, it hopefully this comes across right that it's nice that was not the only thing. You know, he makes that field goal. Indiana still comes down and scores a touchdown. Obviously, the field goal.
I think the play call is different though, don't you think? If they're down.
I feel like Cignetti is aggressive enough type of coach.
I'm not on Iowa side. If you have a lead, I don't know if they're sending a, you know,
like after Indiana might have scored that touchdown.
All-out blitz like they did. Yeah, who knows?
Oh, sure, that's true. That's true. But nevertheless, it's like, you know, what can you do about Drew? You know, he missed, but he's one of your most accurate kickers in Iowa history. So sometimes those misses are going to come, and unfortunately, they happen at inopportune times sometimes.
With 2:08 to go in this game, before that 3rd and 5, Kirk Cignetti burns his final timeout. And I feel like that was the gauntlet thrown down of, hey, we can't stop the clock anymore. You guys get 5 yards, salute to you. You deserve to win this thing. But I don't know if you can get 5 yards. So go ahead and do it, because if you don't get those 5 yards and you have to settle for 3, we're going to go get 6. And I think it was a message not just to his team, his defense and offense of, hey, I trust you guys to get a stop. I trust you guys to go get a score. But also across to Iowa of, hey, these are the most important 15 feet you've probably had since beating Penn State in 2021. If you get them, you deserve to win this one. Kirk Cignetti was immensely a lot of flattering things to say about Iowa throughout the week. Very complimentary. And that 3rd and 5, man, it haunts you because as we don't have the video of it, I deleted my clip of it. It looked like you did too. We don't save a lot of incompletions. Bo and Logan are pulled out, ready to lay blocks on this screen. If Hank can throw inside to Kamari rather than outside to his left, if he can throw it to his right, lead him into the blocks, that's a first down.
Like the one he threw to Caden Weegen, right?
Yeah, which was a fantastic play. Again, talk about design and execution. Yeah. Iowa blinked, you know, and that's collective across the board, you know, not putting it on any one guy. But, man, that's a play that, it's tough. You talk about a game of inches. If a ball's here instead of here, that foot and a half, whatever it may be, it lines up so much differently. And I think that's what makes it tough because you didn't see it. We'll see it a little bit more when we get into the missed tackles. Lutmer makes an awesome play. Again, the blitz paying off and getting a lot of pressure on Mendoza. He throws his first pick. we've seen this story so many times where Iowa at the most opportune time gets that turnover, and then they figure things out and get things done, whether it's Herc in 23 at Nebraska getting that, Leishon has a big run, and then Marshall Meter just sneaks one in over. It's happened every time. I would say it's a different feeling loss than 23 against Minnesota, the invalid fair catch signal, because that was a year where Iowa's just figure out how to win, however you can, scratching and clawing, ball bounces your way. This feels more like, and it's not exactly a parallel, 2017 against Penn State, where McSorley hits Johnson on the final play and walks this thing off, and Saquon just kind of is this Terminator going down the side, and you can't stop him. Felt a little like that of, as soon as you missed your opportunity, you're just like, even Mendoza with 10 incompletions in the game already and not playing his best game, and Iowa doing a heck of a job. You're just like, you just gave this offense that feels like it can go score, and it's exactly what happened. And it hurts more because everything lined up. We've seen this fairy tale work out so many times for Iowa, and it just didn't today or on Saturday.
Another parallel, too, that came into my mind was Iowa State last year. Just late in the game, you need to get a first down and win the game, and the Iowa offense can't do that. Now, again, I do think it's a whole different situation if Mark's in, but you can't play. I honestly thought he was going to go back in. When he came out of
like he wanted to, yeah.
When he came out of the tent, he was like sprinting down the sideline, and I'm like snapping my friends who are at home, like, hey, I think Mark's coming in because he looks fine, but I didn't know about the decelerate. He couldn't decelerate, which doesn't sound good, although, it sounds more positive than I thought it would be when it happened in the moment. But still, yeah, tough outcome, because I wanted to be more pissed and like blame stuff. But when I rewatched the game this morning, I was like, I thought the defensive game plan was really good. You threw him off. Mendoza, he's a really good player. Their outside receivers are really talented.
Same with were fantastic.
Same with the running backs. And Iowa threw them off, and they couldn't really get it going. And they did not have the offensive output that I think you and I thought they would, Owen. But then when the game's on the line, you had to execute, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah, this is what is proving to be what makes Signetti such a good coach, though, is that Iowa did throw them off in so many ways, and they found the way. I mean, that's what it came down to in the final minutes of the game, was like somebody was going to have to find a way to win that game, and they just had that one play that was what put them over the edge.
All right, well, thank you to Pin Seekers for our Teeing It Ups segment to start things off here, but we've alluded to it a lot, and boy, in any other scenario, the top story would be Mark Gronowski going down, Hank Brown coming in. He's been here since December, started with Iowa back during Music City Bowl prep. He's your odds-on favorite to be the starter in 2026. Maybe that starts a little earlier as we hear from Hank Brown evaluating his play and some words from his center, a teammate on the other side of the ball, and Coach Ferentz. As Hank Brown, maybe the guy, depending on what we hear about Mark.
Disappointed. I think I definitely left some stuff out there, but definitely an opportunity to grow from it and learn from it. It's tough, but it's football, and those are opportunities you dream of. So I wish I could have executed better. I think honest analysis is a good way to put it. I think Coach Lesser does an incredible job when we're able to watch the film and look at it from a perspective of this is a great opportunity for us to grow. And so I think Coach Lesser does a great job prior in the film room.
It's all about belief. We had full belief in him, especially when he stepped in the huddle, just seeing the way he operates in practice. And, that's a big-time moment for him to step in there, and it's tough, and not everybody can do it. But, I thought he handled it, with poise and did a great job. So, that's tough for anybody, but it's what you practice for. It's football. But, yeah, man, I think we all had total belief in him and his abilities because, we've seen it in practice.
I love Hank. Hang out with him all the time. Great dude. Definitely a competitor. He's going to give it everything he has, and he's going to work extremely hard on every single play, every single practice, and that's what I love about him.
He seemed poised and seemed alert and aware and all that type of deal, but I'm sure he wishes he could have done a little bit better, and maybe we need to help him a little bit more. We'll have to see the tape, but he's a high caliber guy, and he's been practicing really well, so feel really good about that group, and just this is experience that will help him too as we move forward.
All right, well, let's start with Mark's injury here in the fourth quarter, scrambling around and just goes down and knew something wasn't right away. You see him feels like when he tries to plant on that left foot, and the left knee was the one he blew out in May of 21 at South Dakota State, and he's helped off, but again was on the sideline running, trying to get going as Hank Brown stepped in. Again, the guy who's got more experience in the Lester system right now than anybody else in that quarterback room, just because he got here early and got the work in with Logan and got some words of encouragement from Mark on the sideline before he went in. And you know, you saw the stats, 5 of 13, 48 yards, the interception. You'll see that here in a little bit. 9 of those attempts coming on that final desperation drive. But saw some decent things from number 9. Made a couple starts at Auburn. And again, this was the Caden Weegan play we were talking about. Fantastic design, got some really good blocks. I think Trevor Lauk was sealing it off on the left side, actually, watching back from the top-down broadcast view. You see the interception there off the tip, was trying to get to Sam Phillips. Nothing came of that one, thankfully, for the Hawks. But, you know, in those final throws on that final drive, got one to Sam Phillips, had a nice throw to Dayton Howard as well. But, again, just falls a little bit short, went a little high to DJ Vanami on the final throw of the game. And we'll see. Maybe next week we'll find out what Mark's status is. I don't know if we'll hear that from the coordinators at all this week. But in 13 days, heading to Madison, Hank Brown could be your guy. So what do we think about the whole situation there? Hank, again, he's your leader in the clubhouse going into 26, but 25, I think Mike maybe in the preseason said something about how many quarterbacks would we see or how much time would Hank Brown get in 25, and we're about to find out here in the next week and a half or so.
It's I mean, just
deja vu
to the last 2 years. I mean, just seems like it keeps coming up, where last year it was Cade going down and Brendan Sullivan came in, and I feel like people had a lot of confidence in Sullivan coming in last year just because
I think the fans wanted Sullivan in anyway.
They wanted him bad, and they'd seen glimpses in the red zone, so they kind of knew what they were getting. It's certainly a different scenario than 23 as well, which is, weirdly, there is a parallel just in that Deacon's maybe his second start as a Hawkeye was at Wisconsin as well, I believe. Like, one of his first starts was on the road.
It was one of them.
In Madison. But anyway, so just kind of a strange parallel there that could be the case that we see out of Hank Brown. Just to run through some of his stats when he was at Auburn. He was there for 2 years. Weirdly, he played in the Music City Bowl for Auburn and then was at the Music City Bowl when Iowa was there this last year. But in 2024, had 403 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions for Auburn. Seems like a capable guy, good head on his shoulders. There's not a lot that we would know about him right now just based on what we've seen in limited game time, but you have certainly more confidence than you had 2 years ago when Deacon Hill was the guy coming in.
Yeah, I guess you do. I just really
I know that's not a high bar to set, but
I really had hoped we could go a whole season without a quarterback injury, but, you know, life as a Hawkeye fan, I guess. I think Wisconsin's not a very good football team, at least what we've seen so far this year. So I think it might be like it could be like a good opportunity for him if Mark doesn't come back. But it also turns one of your games the rest of the season that you think should be a win into maybe a little toss-up because you have a quarterback making his first start at your school on the road, which is never tough to go to Camp Randall, even if, you know, what Wisconsin is this year. So it's just, man, you're looking at the schedule and you're like, if it's Hank the rest of the season, I don't have much confidence. I don't think he can do the things Mark can do.
Yeah.
Especially the way he's grown this year, Mark has. We know he's not the runner Mark is. And, you know, those throws Mark was making yesterday started to get that intermediate passing game, like, on point. Mark didn't make many bad throws. That one in the dirt to Jacob Gill, but most of them were on target. And that's what you thought you were getting with him. And right when it's starting to ramp up, man, it'd be really tough to lose him.
It was tough to hear when he goes down there and gets up and goes down again. You heard a groan from the crowd. That wasn't just like, oh, no, our quarterback's hurt. It was, oh, no, not again. Mm-hmm. A little louder than the cramps one against Albany, because that one I think people were figuring out, like, oh, yeah, like he's cramping up there. I was surprised there weren't more cramps in this game, just being in the mid-80s. It wasn't that humid, but
sure.
You don't get a lot of humidity in mid-September, late September. You don't get a lot of 80-degree days in mid-September and late September, but here we are. It's, you know, I don't know if you know what Hank is yet. He had those 4 touchdowns last year out of the 6 total in that win against New Mexico, starting at home at Jordan-Hare, and looked great against New Mexico. And then the week later, starting against Arkansas, throws 3 first-half interceptions, and that's where all the interceptions last year came from. This is a wild parallel, and I'm not saying they're the same player, and I'm certainly not saying they're on the same trajectory. I remember in 2014, I believe it was against Ball State, C.J. Beathard came in for a bit in relief of Jake Rudock and threw a ball to Damon Powell in the end zone. Initially called a touchdown. It was eventually waved off. I think Damon had a toe out of bounds, but he put it in the bucket. It was a dime, and you go, all right, your backup can do something. Against UMass, the first KJ Parker touchdown that got erased and then went to the other side, and KJ finally got his first catch and first score. Hank put one in the bucket to KJ that was the same thing. Like, KJ was hitting the pylon as the ball hit his hand, just didn't have possession. And it's that type of throw you go, all right, like, he can drop it in if he needs to. And it gives you, it's a play that doesn't count, it gives you a little confidence, though. Other side of the coin, you know, you have the Auburn tape from Arkansas and throwing 3 first-half picks last year. But if Hank's your guy and you've got faith that he could be your guy in 26, all right, like, shorten up the learning curve. And, you know, you got thrown in the fire there. Had a nice little sequence on that final drive. I think he went 3 of 4 at one point and then missed the final 4. Went a little high to DJ on that 4th and 10. He's got an opportunity. He can't run like Mark, but he's got more experience in the system, and that's if you have to lean on it, that's what you lean on. Seems like a really great kid. He's very deep in his faith, and you can hear Owen's interview with him on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel. But if he's your dude, I'm cautiously optimistic because it does feel like he's got the experience in the system, albeit it's like a couple of months ahead of everybody else. And he's shown at times he can make your throws, and everyone's been immensely complimentary of him. You know, you heard Kirk say it as well. He's been good since he's got in.
Yeah, I guess as a Hawkeye fan, that's what you hope for. I'm on the other side of the coin. I'm unconsciously, cautiously pessimistic.
Yeah.
Because
there's not a lot of caution to pessimism.
Yeah, good point. I was just trying to do the opposite thing. But just because if it does turn out and he does sling it around against some of these better teams, I'd rather be surprised than just hope for something and be let down. That's just kind of the fan I am. He can make throws. But then, you know, on the other side of the coin, he was missing high a lot in the middle, and that leads to turnovers, and not a lot of tape on him at Iowa. So, I don't know. I just kind of hope Mark can come back, right?
Do you think you'd prefer to have him trotted out there against Wisconsin, just like if it's a matter of like just being cautious with Mark's return
cautious
time?
with Mark?
Yeah,
Sure.
Just like, oh wait, this is the worst Big Ten team that we're going to face this year, so like let's put in our backup and maybe just let the running game take over.
Yeah, I mean that's a good game plan, right? Like if you're going to do it against the Wisconsin team, but it's also a Wisconsin team that might give everything they have on this season left to beat Iowa because they were embarrassed last year. Yep. And it might be one of the few. I know it's the only winnable game on their schedule this month because they play enormously hard schedule. But you know, give Mark one more week of healing up. Yeah, I mean that'd be a good move.
I think it all depends on who else is back. You know, you didn't see all the injury walk-offs. We had quite a few yesterday, and some guys came back, but Jacob Gill walked off late. You hope Reese Vanderzee is ready to go after the bye week. We'll see what Chaz Patterson and Xavier Williams are like. Bo Stevens left for a while, then came back and finished the game. Same with Jaden Harrell. It's a great time to have the bye because you're banged up, your quarterback's out. We'll figure things out. But, yeah, if it's a toss-up of, hey, can Mark play, but maybe it'd be best to protect him for one more week, have him ready to come back against Penn State, and you've got more weapons that are healed up and can make their debut against Wisconsin. Maybe you do roll Hank out there and just put him in the best position to win when you've got 2 more running backs healthy and you've got RVZ. And, you know, we don't know the extent of what took Gill off the field. I can't remember if he was in on those final drives at all or not. But we'll see. There's certainly a lot of factors and a lot of time. And, again, we're probably not going to get injury updates until not this upcoming Tuesday, but the Tuesday after, heading into Madison. But we'll keep our ear to the ground, and by that we'll just watch emails and see if anything comes out.
That's
there,
a week of up in the air.
Yeah. Well, thankfully everybody will be super level-headed and won't panic and won't spread rumors or anything like that. There were injury rumors going into the pregame yesterday. I was like,
there were some really good AI photos too. That I'm like, man, this is a really good Photoshop I'm not going to say what,
Yeah,
but I'll tell you guys afterwards.
I can't speak to that at all. So from the offensive side of the ball to the defensive side, boy, if you just look at the stat sheet compared to what Indiana was doing coming into this game compared to what they did against Iowa, Hawkeyes, boy, what a performance. And really, it was. We talked about the blitzes and talked about the big plays they were able to make on defense, but tackling, maybe more so than a game since Michigan State last year, popping up and looking rough. Here are the fellas about leaving things out on the field and what needs to get shored up and how you deal with getting there to make the play and then letting it slip through your fingers in some cases.
Yeah, we worked extremely hard, battled every single play. Obviously, we weren't good enough today. They came out on top, but can't fault effort. We gave it 100% for sure.
We all just got to look at the plays that we missed out on. I think, every single time you play football, whether you're middle school football, high school football, you always leave some plays out there. I think just the biggest thing is, during this bye week, we got to obviously rest, recover, collect our bearings, and just find a way to just keep pushing more each and every practice, find a way to give more because, there's a lot of football ahead.
We try to do a couple different things to throw them off their game. We fought as hard as they could, missed a couple of plays, but, that's where we look at the tape and get better. But, yeah, that's definitely a great offense.
I mean, if there's one thing defensively to me that's after this block of games, we've got to get better at tackling. And I got to see the tape from today, but it just seems to me like, a lot of it's more the inexperienced guys that haven't had as much game competition. And typically, bad angles are usually where your eyes are. Those are the two things that really, I'm thinking about one play here in the second half where we were outside in on a guy instead of being inside out, and you just open the door for some bad things. And that's one thing we knew coming in with this game. There was a lot of yards after catch last week with Indiana against their opponent, and it's one thing to give up a completion, that's going to happen, but you can't let it, can't make the bleeding worse. You got to get it stopped, and we had a couple of those today too. But they got some good players, and those guys do a good job. But tackling's definitely on the list.
So here's a look at some of them, and you've got one. I believe that was in the fourth quarter as well, where Surratt, which he had a fantastic game, but he gets some extra yards there. Same here with went out to Omar Cooper, just juking guys, and there were a lot of plays that you'd have the first and Hamby on the ground here just gets out of a scrum and gets 10 extra yards, and that helped set up a field goal at one point. But you had the big plays. Zach Lutmer, boy, again, thought this was the interception that would seal another incredible Hawkeye victory, and Mendoza's first mistake of the year, and held up against the blitz pretty darn well, but made the tough one there. And then Cohen Entringer, the 2 fourth down stops, had some missed tackles. Again, one of those guys who doesn't have a ton of game experience in terms of starting on the defense, and a sack from Aaron Graves as well. But boy, the missed tackles, the bad angles, had one even on the touchdown. Owen got a heck of a shot at that final touchdown. Deshaun Lee, if he gets the wrap, that's a 7-yard gain and not a 49-yard score. And Kirk talked about stopping the bleeding. There were some gushes there at some points, and for a program that preaches where your eyes are and getting those angles, it's tough and at times shocking to see plays not get finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think when I was writing some notes down, and this is my only critique of the defense, because I love the game plan of just throwing them off and blitz, and I already said that, but 14 missed tackles, and there was a handful of plays too, like where it was either 1st and 20 off a penalty or 2nd and 20 or 17 off a sack. The next play, there'd be a missed tackle, and they'd go for 10. And then it gets them in 3rd and manageable. Or, like you said, that the touchdown is obvious, but there were other ones where it's just like it's a 3-yard gain, turns into an 8-yard gain, easy conversion. Like, man, that's just not what an Iowa fan is used to watching on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't know if it's just the skill level of Indiana's skill players are that good, because they are very good, or if it's just the level. I do think this defense is good, but are they on that level where they're not going to make that many mistakes and kind of miss a tackle?
Yeah. One area where they deserve some credit is the fact that coming into this game, I can't remember if we maybe touched on this on Wednesday, that this season coming in, Indiana had been 5 for 5 on 4th down conversions this year. They were 0 for 3 against Iowa. I think the third one was that the safety at the very end of the game, technically, but still, 2 actual fourth down stops. And I mean, that again is something that deserves some credit from a team that just dropped. They've scored 56 points in at least 56 in each of their last 3 games, and for Iowa to stop them both twice on fourth and maybe less than a yard, like, gosh, just got just about everything that you wanted out of that defense outside of the one play to end the game.
Those fourth downs too, it made me think that Indiana and Cignetti, they kind of were not playing their game, at least what I watched. I mean, it was like what I've seen from them. They were fourth and shorts, and they were like, all right, the line is there. I think one of them was an RPO and one of them was just a handoff, but they were just, let's bully you, when I think usually, they'd either spread them out or the wide receiver, the announcer said the wide receivers were upset at that second one because they were one-on-one. It's like, trust Omar Cooper and Surratt. And if they did, I mean, maybe it's different. But I give credit to Iowa because I think Cohen at least got one of them. He might have got both of them.
He got both, yeah.
Yeah, he got both. He was lined up as on a 3-point stance on one of them.
Really?
And just crashed the line, yeah. And, I mean, really good plays. But, again, it was kind of odd the way, because you think the way how aggressive Indiana's been that they would have got the ball in space and trusted their playmakers or the receivers when they didn't.
Yeah, especially when you see, and the guys talked about it on Tuesday, of not, because that was what led to Indiana rolling it up on Illinois, is that these 5-8 yard gains would go for 20 plus because they'd get through the first wave and Illinois couldn't tackle them. And that was the talking point on Tuesday was, we got to make sure. And that's what Iowa did really, really well in Ames after Kansas State had the problem over in Dublin of just not being able to wrap up against Iowa State. Iowa kept everything for the most part in front of them and didn't let anybody slip away against the Cyclones. And then you see this and all of that goes away again. And it feels a little like the back half of 24 last year where you'd have the Michigan State game where, geez, like everybody's getting out of tackles and the pursuit and the angle and the eyes just seem a little off. Like the effort's there, to Lutmer's point. Like, hey, when they hit, it worked. Cohen had some big hits. Lutmer had his. 2 forced fumbles. Man, you've had 3 forced fumbles in your 2 losses.
Never bounce your way.
None of them have bounced. Yeah, it's tough. And, hey, those are the bounces that you need in some cases. But, yeah, you hope that as these guys get more experience and, there's so many folks online saying this guy needs to be pulled and that guy needs to be pulled. And hey, some guys get out on islands, and it's tough. And, you just hope – you hope 13 days from now things are a little better and guys continue to grow as they get more reps, more game experience. It just, when you're in the eye of the hurricane and the hurt, it's a tough pill to swallow for sure.
One thing, Indiana, I was just going to add as we start to kind of close things down here is that maybe their best strategy of the day was to keep the ball out of Iowa's best players' hands. And they did that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Caden Weegan, he had a really nice return there. And what was that, the second quarter, I think, that he had a good return?
First or second, yeah.
Yeah. And then they just either punted away from him, punted it short enough. And it was a classic Kirk Ferentz game. He's all about the field position battle, and that's kind of what it was because they didn't need to punt it far. They could punt it down to the 10-yard line or something where Caden wasn't going to have a chance to return something, or when they were kicking off, they could make sure that it was going to go out of the back of the end zone like that. I mean, we're going to dive into this, I'm sure, in the bye week podcast, but Caden for sure has been Iowa's MVP this season. And so the fact that he didn't get a chance to do more than just one play, and then a very nice catch, of course, as well on offense. But that was one of the biggest things that hurt Iowa, was not getting him involved more.
We can tease this for Wednesday, but I would disagree with you on the MVP. But we can talk about that.
He's up there.
Yeah,
he's
100%. But
he's up there.
Anyway, I was going to say I was just thinking about how the ball seemed to be bouncing Indiana's way on those forced fumbles. The one time it went Iowa's way, though, that blocked punt, like it still went 30 yards after he blocked it. Like that was kind of, fortunate for Iowa that if Indiana gets the ball, you saw what they did on a short field in the first drive, and after that play, you were like, oof, oh boy, this is going to be a long game. And then Indiana took a while to get going on offense. I did want to ask you guys a question, because I think it's hard to tell sometimes in the stands, and after a few, beers, but
Natty Lights.
How was the crowd? It seemed super loud to me, but I didn't know. Was it one of the louder ones you guys have been to in the past, or was it just par for the course?
Man, that roar when Lutt had that pick, that was because it felt like we did it again. I wish Indiana would have got pinned back a little farther or pinned back more, had more snaps driving away from the north end zone, but deep there. Because, I mean, that's a 12th man feeling it in the past. You wish that could have been utilized more, but I thought the crowd was great. I mean, you have so many people back for homecoming. 2:30 kick. It's a gorgeous day out. It was great energy, and I think Signetti even said it in his post game. Like that's a great home field advantage, and it's why there's that little magic at Kinnick. I thought it was a great crowd for sure. Yeah, just wish they would have had that north end zone. It's always fun when those teams really get backed up there. I think they had one drive maybe.
Fair catch at the 3.
Fair catch at the 3.
First play was like an 8-yard gain, so kind of
it erased it really quick. But you wish like that first down would have gone for 1 yard or 2 rather than a bigger gain. But it was a great crowd.
Yeah, the 2 moments I heard them yell loudest was when they were backed up on the 3. That the end zone really did get fired up, and as you guys just said, would have been nice if there were a couple plays within the 5-yard line, but. That, again, goes to Indiana's credit that they were able to get out of this situation immediately when they knew they needed to. That was loud, and, like you said, the Lutmer pick, because I think that neither of us had, like, a super great shot of Lutmer's pick. I lost track of the ball after he threw it, and so I didn't get a good shot of it, but I just heard – the sound that I heard told me that's a turnover type of crowd war. That's not an incompletion or a third down stop. That is a turnover, and so I knew that somebody had picked it off, but – I had my mom with me on the sideline yesterday as well, and she had her Apple Watch going off a handful of times about like this noise level. You are in a dangerously loud situation. It was. I would say for sure, definitely the loudest game of the season. Was it louder than any game last year? Trying to think. What do you think was the loudest game last year?
Nebraska.
Oh, that's right.
Probably.
Do you guys remember when Iowa beat Nebraska last year? Were you there?
I would say it was maybe louder than any game last year then. I feel like cold games are maybe harder to. Well, I don't know if I'd say that. I guess Nebraska was exceptional.
We don't have the data. We'll download the data off Owen's mom's Apple Watch, and then we'll find something else at Kinnick. But plenty to talk about on Wednesday's edition when we look back at our preseason picks. We'll hear from coordinators as well. But before we look back at our preseason picks, let's recap this week's picks. If Mike wants to just walk us through the spreadsheet. That was a heck of a game in Happy Valley. Holy cow.
That was an awesome game, yes. So Mitch and I went 3-1. Mitch had Rutgers, Illinois, and Iowa covering and lost the Penn State-Oregon game. He had Penn State. Owen went 2-2. He had Rutgers and Oregon, lost USC and Indiana. And then I went 3-1 as well with Rutgers, Illinois, and Oregon all covering. And then I took Indiana to cover, which turned out to be a loser there. Sometimes I like to jinx Iowa, though, maybe a reverse jinx.
Have we talked about your fan tax? Have we ever talked about it on the pod? Do you want to inform people what your fan tax is, what this crazy philosophy is?
Shout out to Brandon Wagner, one of my buddies, who when we went to the 2019 Minnesota game at home.
The one where Minnesota's undefeated, yeah.
So we bet, maybe this wasn't the game, because we bet the other team money line, and that means if Iowa wins, we lose the bet. But if the other team wins, you win some money, And I hate doing the spread, too, because, if I would have taken Indiana minus 7.5, I would have lost money and lost the game because they only won by 5. But if I would have taken the money line in Indiana, it's not that much of a win because it's minus 200. But you bet on the other team, so you either win money or you're happy.
I don't know if is this next week just like the bye week for every Big Ten team?
I know Indiana and Iowa are off. Yeah.
Indiana and Oregon is off because Indiana's next game is at Oregon, which I'm like,
those are the 3 teams off. Yeah, the Big Ten
game day situation.
The schedule next week is a stinker, by the way, at least in my opinion.
We're not here to judge the schedule in there. We will be back on Wednesday. We're going to hear from the coordinators on Tuesday. So first time we'll hear from Tim Lester, Phil Parker, and LeVar Woods since Media Day. So it'll be almost 2 months since we've talked to them. And certainly a lot of questions about the quarterback situation. I don't know if we'll hear anything injury-wise, but plenty of questions about that for Tim. Phil, you've got a litany of questions about the defensive backfield, the tackling, and all that stuff. And then special teams, boy, blocked punts, missed field goals, plenty of Caden Weegan praise, but we'll see what LeVar's got to say about the situation there as we, again, look back at our preseason picks as well. Some things worked out decently well. Other things...
Other offensive MVPs have not yet played a snap.
Yeah, hey, again, hopefully RVZ is coming back ASAP. So we will be back here Wednesday with your kind of bye-week edition on Eye on the Hawks. Again, if you're watching on the Iowa's News Now YouTube channel, we love sharing all the highlights we're getting at Kinnick or in Ames, or you're off to Madison in a couple weeks. So we love sharing that stuff. And again, our full melts, as we call them, a little inside baseball term there, of all the interviews, more highlights, everything like that can be on the YouTube channel as well. So get over there and consume all that. Or again, if you're just listening to the audio side, taking us with you wherever you go, wherever you listen to podcasts, just search Eye on the Hawks. We'll keep searching for answers the next few days and be back here Wednesday with everything we hear from the coordinators in Iowa City. Big thanks to Ren on the board today. For Mike and Owen, I'm Mitch. See you on Wednesday on Eye on the Hawks.
At DePaco Credit Union, we value your health and happiness as much as your financial well-being. What's your dream? A trip? A new home? Or maybe it's a green electric bass guitar. No matter the goal, we're here to help you create a plan that helps you achieve it. Share your dreams with us, and we'll work with you to turn them into reality. Well-being is the key to a life worth loving, so when you think about yours, remember that DePaco can help you be well.